Hi there, I'm Coach Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And today we're going to be talking about encouragement during no contact. Well, we know how difficult no contact is. I've lived it, you've lived it, we've been through breakups before, and it is incredibly painful. In fact, years ago, many years ago, I told Victoria about my breakups, and that's how we started kind of bonding and talking about these things. And she was really insightful back then, and I even said she is a good BS detector, even back in the day. And so over the years, obviously we became more closer as friends, and she wanted to come on board with us, which we're happy to have her. But I've seen her go through breakups. I've been on the phone with her when she's gone through breakups.
There's a classic example of me going to do this grand gesture and break no contact. I'm in a train. Craig's on the phone with me. He's trying to get through to me. Don't do it. And I'm like...
There's no signal. She can't hear me. I'm like, no, don't. You gotta go concentrate.
Yeah,
She's
there
like,
was
what?
no signal.
And meanwhile, she's going, can't hear you.
When our minds are set and we want to reach out to that person, we're doing it, and it can feel like nobody can stop us, and sometimes even ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we know how difficult no contact is. And when I went through my breakups, it was some of the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. And I've openly talked about that since I started the channel. So it's helpful to understand why it's so difficult, what you're going through. Because when you understand it, it's not as so confusing and it's not so scary, right? So first thing I want to help you guys understand is that there's a biological component. Your body is releasing chemicals. Your body is releasing stress hormones. And so it literally causes us to feel like you're dying. I really believe that it's like a hardwire being tripped in your brain that's saying, it's like an emergency alarm. Do not disconnect from your loved ones or you will die, which is what I think we have as toddlers. Even, we don't toddle away too far from our family because we feel like we're going to die, because biologically we will die without our family. We can't take care of ourselves, right? So that hard wiring is in us, and it comes back out in a breakup. So you're being overwhelmed with stress hormones, all kinds of chemicals being released, and it just causes you intense physical pain. I felt like I had a giant gaping hole in my chest. It truly felt like I had a crater there. And that pain drove me to try and figure out breakups and understand why they happen, right? So understanding that your body is going through chemical changes right now, and that's one component of why you're overwhelmed with the feelings that you have. And everybody feels that, okay? Everybody feels those things when they're broken up with. And so it's normal. And I just want you to understand, it's a normal physical reaction that we have to a breakup.
And the other thing is that we tend to compare ourselves to what other people are going through, how other people manage breakups. And then we start to question our own sanity. Well, Jim got over his breakup in 4 months. And now it's been around 6 months for me. How come I'm not over it yet? Julie started dating after 2 weeks.
Yeah.
How was she able to do that? But I'm still over here suffering 3 months later. So this affects everybody very differently. However, it is normal to get this panic feeling, to feel like you're dying, like you're mentioning.
Yeah.
And we do question, are we doing the right thing? Are we moving on in a way that's healthy? What is the right way to go through a breakup? We start asking ourselves these questions, and sometimes we can even beat ourselves up if we're not going down the path that we think we should be on.
Yeah.
If we feel like we haven't moved on by a certain amount of time, then we think that something is wrong with us. We start questioning, why am I so hung up on this? And it can really get to our heads.
Yeah.
We start to think that something is broken, or that this person has this grip on us that can't be broken, and we start to kind of lose control and spiral from there.
Yeah. A lot of times we feel like there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. And everybody's telling me, just move on. Mm-hmm. How many times do you hear friends and family say, just move on?
It's so easy.
Just move on. He wasn't even that great. Why are you even so upset about it? And you're just like, I can't. Mm-hmm. If you felt this pain, if you understood what I was going through, you would understand it. But, they don't understand. They're just telling you what they think will help you. Mm-hmm. A lot of times they don't know what to say because breakups are so confusing. And we get overwhelmed with the separation anxiety. It basically takes over our life, mm-hmm. right? And it does get better with time, okay? In the beginning, it is worse. Yes, I'm not saying you won't feel it sometimes down the line, but overall, yes, you will know that it does get better. The chemicals being released aren't as intense. It's not as overwhelming, and you will start to feel better. Not right away, but, I would say within 6 months you start to feel better than you did, certainly right after the breakup.
Right, and that's also dependent on how long the relationship was, the quality of it, and so many different factors.
But when you're feeling this separation anxiety, everything inside of you is just saying, connect with them, reach out, contact them, watch their social media, go by their house. I want to feel that connection again because it feels like you're going to be saved. It feels like they're a life raft coming to save you when you're drowning, right?
Yeah, and on a physiological level, you and your partner have created this homeostasis, this equilibrium that feels comfortable, that feels safe, a routine that you talk to each other every day, and your body gets used to these patterns. Mm-hmm. So now that this pattern has suddenly broken, your body's in a state of shock. What do we do now if we don't have these usual things to grasp onto? Mm-hmm. Some type of routine, some type of structure. And then on the more psychological side, sometimes we feel like that connection with our ex or having some form of communication with them gives us control. Mm-hmm. But it is an illusion of control. And
That's a good point.
we want to figure out what's going on with the other person. Sometimes we start to get paranoid and get in our head, do they know that I don't hate them? Do they know that I still care about them? Do they know that I do want a second chance? Mm-hmm. And we start to second guess ourselves and second guess what our last interactions were like. It can replay over and over and over again in our minds.
Yep.
And we want to reach out to them because we want to hear back and know that they're okay and have some control over the situation.
Yep. And how many times have you heard somebody worried, they didn't text me when they got home, so now I'm afraid they got into a car accident, it's not like them to contact me.
Yeah.
Or I'm afraid, what if they're having a hard time and they're thinking about hurting themselves or something like that. We tend to catastrophize because we're so anxious, particularly if you have an anxious attachment style.
Yeah.
You tend to do, that's normal to do. So we just want you to understand all these things are normal to experience and feel after a breakup. Obsessively thinking about your ex, trying to reconnect with them. It's like it takes over your brain, and it's all your brain cares about is how do I fix this? What can I do to make them want to be with me again, to give me another chance? We just get so fixated on it, it really takes over our life, right? Mm-hmm. But, a lot of the information that we see out there, like the handwritten letters, the good reminder text, the grand gestures, things like that, the clean slate messages, those things usually make things worse because your ex is wanting space. And all of those things are just manipulations to get close to them. But if it worked, we would tell you to do it. The reason we don't tell you to do it is because most of the time it makes things worse, right?
And your brain really does play tricks on you. You can think of any possible excuse to reach out to your ex, no matter how minuscule or insignificant it seems.
Yeah.
And it can be something like asking them for your stuff back, but the stuff is like hair tie and like an old pair of shorts or something like that.
And we heard something about that recently,
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
we? It was like a hair tie and a pair of socks.
It's stuff that you could definitely live without, you know? You have to think about it as an exit fee.
Exactly.
If it costs a hair tie and an old pair of shorts to be able to go into no contact and to have some space from your ex and to give them the space that they need, so be it. Of course, if it's like they have your PlayStation or your Xbox, you know, then that can be a different story. But even then, you know, use some rationale. Think about, is it something that you really have to message your ex about? Of course, there's going to be some business things. If you have a child together and have to co-parent, that's a whole different story. If you're both signed on a lease together and there's some practical financial things you need to sort out, that's a whole other story, which we do have other videos on that as well. So please check out our channels and find what fits your situation. But generally, overall, if it's not an emergency, if it's not something business that you need to take care of, there is no reason for you to reach out.
Yeah. I see money as an issue. That comes up a lot. Now, if it's a small amount of money, I say you let it be. I mean, it's up to you, but you don't want to look petty, right? I mean, do you really want to risk looking petty if you're trying to reattract somebody? You gotta weigh the risk versus the reward here. I mean, you might get that little bit of money back, but they're gonna be like, I can't believe he asked about that. I can't believe she asked about that money. Like, really? And they might see through it if you were using it as an excuse, right? They might see and be like, he was just looking for a way to contact me. So, you know, you got to really think those things through. And of course, we talk about those things in the coachings with you because it does blind you when you're going through it. You get so fixated on this thing. It gets so confusing. But we're always trying to teach you guys how to become more confident, how to become more secure and work through your attachment issues, because that is truly the most attractive thing that you can do. And while you're in no contact, you can use the time to your advantage. Don't worry about what your ex said to you last or where they were last night. Focus on getting through those attachment issues, figuring out how to display confidence, because your confidence is going to be tested in front of your ex again. They are going to say things that feel like a knife in your chest, and it's almost, I think, on some level, a test. How do you respond when they say this thing? And I see them with the calls all the time. We talk about these things all the time. Where you're not ready for it, if you haven't done the work, you're going to revert right back to the way you did or acted the day of the breakup, and it's just going to turn them off again.
And when we're feeling anxious, we feel like we do need to, you know, hone in closer. We do need to get their attention. We do need to hear from them. We need to talk now or else it's never. That's just not how it works. In fact, it's the opposite. You know, in order to allow your ex to give them that time to think over things, to process, to reconsider, they need space. They need to experience those consequences of not being with you. What is it like when they don't get a nice good morning text? Or what is it like when they don't have, you know, a next planned date with you and they have to fend for themselves? You know, it's going to be a completely different experience for them. And that's what we want you all to remember, that it's going to be different, and you want to give them that space to think through things.
Absolutely. The last thing you want to do is give them space. The last thing you want to do is stop reaching out, because you're afraid that it's going to make things worse. It's going to make them forget about you. But not in our experience. Okay? In our experience, it allows them the time and space to miss you, to face, you know, having to go on without you, which in the beginning they might be relieved about, but as time goes on, it will make them feel the separation anxiety and hopefully spark the desire to reach out to you, contact you, look for excuses like the indirect direct approach to reach out to you. And, you know, if you don't believe that, because some people aren't sure, they don't quite understand, just think about your anxiety level. Think about how high your anxiety level is. And now think about how much you want your ex back. There's a desire, right? And it's correlated. You see? And by you not reaching out to them, it allows them to feel that anxiety and spark that desire. So you have to trust the process, but you've got to do the work in no contact. It's not just about I'm leaving them alone and then I'm going to get in front of them and they magically want me back.
Exactly. And most likely they have not forgotten about you. I know that this is a big fear that a lot of you experience. What if, I've completely been erased from their mind, they've just moved on and just don't care? The chances are they haven't. That's just not how attachment works. That's not how relationships work. And, at some point people do end up reconsidering a relationship again with their ex.
Yeah.
And with that said,
they really do.
They do. With that said, we also want to remind you that there's no magic combination of words that will get your ex back.
You mean text your ex this?
Exactly. It just doesn't exist. You can't make somebody do something. You can't force somebody. You can't speed up this process as much as it sucks. It's just a thing where it is a process. It takes time. You need to give them that space in order for them to be able to go through this. And you also don't want to come off as if you're trying to force something. When you are checking in on your ex or reaching out to them or asking about things that really don't matter, things
you
that you
missed
really
the
don't
cat.
need. Yeah, exactly.
You're going to text them, you missed the cat.
Exactly.
I had somebody tell me they did it recently.
Yeah, it interrupts their grieving process, and sometimes it pisses them off. So the safest bet, and the one that we always promote here, is no contact for you, for them, and for the cat.
And for the cat. I know that as time goes on, it starts to feel more and more hopeless. But that just isn't the way that it works, okay? I'm not saying you shouldn't get on with your life at some point or move on or date other people or things like that. That's a whole nother subject. What I'm trying to just get you to understand is that when you really do the work, if you look at it this way, the more time you're in no contact, the more time you have to grow and to change. If you've been going to the gym for 3 weeks, how much different are you going to look? As opposed to if you've been going to the gym for 6 months. It's a major difference. It's the same thing with doing the emotional work and doing those workbooks 30 minutes a day for 3 weeks versus 6 months, or the creative healing course. And in therapy, all those things truly make a big difference in your confidence level and your ability to navigate relationships in a healthy way. And when you get in front of your ex again, it'll blow them away.
Exactly. Like we've said before, time is on your side,
Yep, use it to your advantage. And of course, you can get our help personally. Just go to my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Coach Victoria is also available for Skype coaching.
I'm here whenever you need to talk.
Just click on her name at the top of the website to schedule with her. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon.